All right, Chattanooga, welcome back to What's Happening in Your Neck of the Woods. We are dead center in the middle almost of Black History Month. Wow, wow how time flies. Just last week we were talking about it's the 1st of February. Now we're already in the what is the 10th of
10th of February.
February. I mean, it's only 28 days in the month, y'all, but we rocking it live over here at WPTP as we're giving tribute to African American greats. And I am so honored. Woo, I can hardly contain myself. We have one of the greatest, legendary civil rights leader of all time right here in the studio with us. And I am just pleased to welcome our distinguished guest, Mr. Johnny D. Holloway. You all give him a round of applause. Yes, yes. We are so honored that you have come by today to impart all of this wisdom. And I know I feel honored because some of the things that was going on in that era, I wasn't born yet, but because of what you did and those who were with you, we are able to stand on your shoulders today and do the things that we're able to do. So I first want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for giving us an opportunity and our children and our grandchildren an opportunity to thrive and to flourish in our country. So, sir, with all due respect, I'm going to turn the mic over to you. I just want you to tell us a little bit about you, because people may or may not know. I don't know who don't know about John Holloway, but just give us a little background about you, and then we're going to go straight into this interview.
Well, I also stand on the shoulders of our ancestors too.
Okay.
So it goes. So it's a continuous chain. So we must not break that chain.
Yes.
But just about a little bit about me. Well, I was born in Alabama. I was about 3 years old when I came to Chattanooga. My father came here running.
Running?
Yeah, he was a sharecropper.
Okay.
And so at the end of the year, the guy didn't want to pay him. So he said, well, we didn't make any money this year. And my daddy was able to count. So he know he's supposed to have some money. And so the sharecropper didn't want to pay him. The guy that had it didn't want to pay him. So he just beat the guy up, took his money, put it in his pocket, and he left Alabama running.
Y'all, civil rights didn't start in the 60s. What year was that? Because that was way before the 60s.
Right.
Civil rights started way back when?
That was back in 1936.
Well, see, it started way back in 1936.
That's what they tell me about my father. I don't know. I was just about 3 weeks old when all that happened.
All right.
But he left Alabama running, and he was on his way to Cleveland, either Cleveland, Ohio, because he had some relatives up there. And he stopped in Chattanooga and got a job. So that's it.
That's where it started.
That's where I started, right here in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Wow. You all, I'm trying to take it all in because, not often do we have an opportunity to sit down and hear the stories and understand where we came from a person who's still alive. We read books, they got videotapes, then we have to rely on the news to kind of tell us what's going on. But when you are sitting next to a civil rights legendary, may I say, civil rights leader and activist, it brings everything to life. So now you're in Chattanooga. You're a baby for the most part, and life starts for you, your parents, and kinfolk. So now take us on. First of all, y'all got to know that the Holloways, if you don't know a Holloway, you ain't from Chattanooga, period.
It was 4 boys and a girl in our family. And we lived on 14th Street on the west side. I don't remember much about this, but that's what our family did. We always have a tradition of telling us about our history during our family reunion. We have a family reunion every year. And we go into Detroit this year.
Okay.
And it'll be somewhere between 150 to 200 people there.
Okay.
So we've been doing that ever since 1969, I think.
Since 1969. I was
my
4 years old.
And all the grandchildren used to go to Alabama from all over the nation. We had my grandfather had a big farm, and all the grandchildren from all over the nation used to go back to the farm during the summer, and we'd be on the train with the little tags on that.
And what was with the tags? Why y'all had to wear the tags?
Because we were traveling as children, and they had to keep up with us.
Okay, all right, very interesting.
And the people knew us because we would be come from all over the country. We'll be going down in Alabama, Camp Hill, Alabama.
This is before the 60s, before the civil rights.
This is back in the 30s and the 40s.
Oh wow!
And we all go to Alabama and work on the farm, and it'd be about 30 or 40 grandchildren down there.
Now give us a picture of the 30s, like because we just got free from slave not too long ago. You got most black folks are sharecroppers. Some of them stayed on the land with their masters and things. And you all a little bitty children, and you got these tags around your neck to identify who you are because you're traveling by yourself.
But see, all the people that the conductors on the train knew who we were because we've been doing it for regular. This before we started having our family reunions. All the grandchildren used to go back to the farm.
Okay.
And work on the farm. It'll be a lot of us down there, and I kind of smile when I think about it now because my granddad was getting free labor.
Oh, from all of y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, so y'all on this farm now. I gotta ask you because I'm inquisitive. So you got a farm. How did you all come into ownership of a farm from being a sharecropper? And basically, I guess you would say not really having much. So how did you?
Well, I don't know how my granddaddy acquired all that land. We still have it in the family.
Okay.
And they now we sell the timber off of it, and people come out and hunt on it.
Okay.
But we still got the land. We just don't do farming much anymore.
Now, see what I like about that, y'all. He said that he don't really know how they came into the ownership of the land, but they still own it.
Yeah, we still own it.
Still making money from the ancestors, I would say.
Yeah.
From way back when, and it's going down through generation to generation.
Okay, and we use that, and we use the sale of the timber to pay the taxes on the land, so we don't lose it, and also contribute to the family reunion.
Okay.
And so that's all I know about.
Business smart people too.
Well, we do pretty well, most of us.
Okay. All right.
So my granddaddy was on his deathbed, and he asked us, and he asked my parents and all the children. It was 13 children. He had 13 children, and he asked them to continue to come together, and that's how and they all agreed, and that's how the family reunion started.
Okay.
And so we've been doing the family reunion we go all over the nation. We have a directory. Mm-hmm. We have a family tree of everybody, and it's big.
Oh wow!
And I showed you the family tree.
I saw that. It was like, oh my God! And I want to say something to that. It is important, and I think this is just as much important for Black history to talk about with regard to Black families staying united and together as it is to talk about some of the folks we don't know about in Black history.
Yeah.
What I like is your grandfather had the insight and the wisdom to say to y'all, keep this family together.
That's right.
Continue to have family reunions and keep us close together. So now in the Black families, that's important.
Very important.
That's important. We cannot lose what our forefathers, our parents, and our ancestors have instilled in us. And I love that the Holloways and many other families, we need to get it back together. If you don't have it together, are still together.
Well, the name of the family reunion is Vine Young's family because my grandfather was Vines.
Okay.
And so that's why the other half of it is Young. So we came together and we named the Vine Young's family, and Holloway is just one part of it.
One part of the branch.
One part. We just a little branch.
Okay, the little branch. Yeah. Okay, come on, because it's getting good and juicy to me. I'm telling you, I'm loving it every minute of this.
So that's how we got started on the family reunion, and I really enjoy. I don't think I missed any.
Wow.
And So so my mother and father drug us to the family reunion, and that's how and then we drag our children to the family reunion. Now they love it, and now they're taking over. I've become the elder.
The elder.
I'm an elder now.
Right,
And so
right.
the children kind of runs it now because we too old to do much. But sit there and look at them.
But you know what? We know my children in our generation, I'm gonna say my generation, and maybe one more generation beneath me, we know better than to cross our elders. We were just taught that way. We were brought up to respect. We were also brought up to not speak unless spoken to. And when grown people are talking, young people are supposed to be quiet. And as a matter of fact, if grown people are gathered in a room having grown people conversation, the young folks know to go to the bedroom or somewhere where they can play and not be in the business of grown people.
Yeah.
And we lost a sense of that. And I think that's where some of the sassiness even come from, the children growing up too fast. But
Yeah.
tell me a little bit more about you. We're gonna leave the Holloway a little bit
Well,
and the Vine Young. Now that we know a little bit about where you come from, what shaped you? What I mean,
well, what shaped
what
me?
you do?
What shaped me was that the type of education I received in the public school system, and my first concern about it, what was happening to me. Now, I took everything personally before I learned what the institution was doing to me.
Okay, okay.
And so we was at Howard High School, and we had a program in the school system where we called the change program between the black and white schools.
Mm-hmm.
So we went over to City High School, which is now what
Chattanooga Performing Arts.
yes.
Yes.
And I saw a word on the board over City High School, and I couldn't hardly pronounce it. It was called calculus.
Calculus.
Now I majored in math in college, and so I was always interested in math. So I asked them what was that, and they said that's math. And I said, well, we don't have that at our school. We didn't even have trigonometry at our school. So it was a bunch of us that had took all the math we had at Howard, but we were still going
basic math, division, and multiplication stuff,
and geometry and algebra.
and algebra.
That's all we had. So I was interested in the next step. Now I took it personally. Now I wasn't the kind of person that I was all into the institution and stuff and all that. I took it personal because I wanted some calculus, just like the white
Even though
people
you didn't
had.
really know what it was, but you knew the white folks had something that you didn't have, and you
Right.
wanted
And
what
so
they
I
didn't-
knew
what
I
they
knew I
had.
couldn't compete with them if I didn't have
If
the
you
same
didn't have
thing.
the knowledge.
I just knew that.
Yes.
So I went
Just
back.
wisdom.
So I went back to Howard and I talked and I talked to Miss Blackshear.
Miss Blackshear, I love Miss Blackshear. She's one
She
of
was
my
a
sorors and
yes.
beautiful woman.
She was our math teacher. So I asked her, I said, how can we get the next step of math over here? So that was trigonometry. So she said, well, I don't know, but you can go ask the principal. So naturally, I went and asked the principal, and that was Mr. Davenport.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of shook him up when I went and asked, because he know that he got to go to the white people now, because to change the curriculum at Howard, you had to have permission from school board. School board was all white.
And what year was this? You remember what?
That was 56.
1956.
No, 54, because I graduated in 55. And so I asked him, and he said, well, you got to have so many students. I said, well, how many students we got to have? He said, you got to have at least 17. Well, I knew it was 17 in our last math class. So I went to all the students and asked them, said, would y'all like to have some trigonometry? And they said, yes. All of them said yes.
All of them said yes.
And so we was a pretty smart class. And so I went back to him and told him, well, I got 17 students. And so he said, well, you got to have a teacher. So I went right back to Miss Blackshear and said, Miss Blackshear, will you teach us? And she said, yes, I know trigonometry.
Okay.
I went back to Davenport and said, well, we got a teacher now. What do we do next? Well, now he got to go to the school board.
Okay. He was trying to avoid it, I think.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Didn't want to go.
Didn't want to go to the white people.
Right,
So he was kind of shook up, and I looked at him and said, well, I said, and then this went on for a little while, and I was in college before we got
Had
trigonometry.
graduated and everything.
I graduated, and I was in college, but every year I come home, I go back there and ask about trigonometry.
Okay.
And so I just kind of stayed on the case.
Right.
And
right.
they finally got it over there. But I think I was about a sophomore, junior in college before they got it. But that's how
Persistent.
That's how persistent. Well, I always been a persistent fellow.
Right. Of course, we're gonna learn a little bit more about you as we go along.
And so
you started off early being persistent.
Yeah, that was in Howard, and so I played a lot of basketball and a lot of sports. I ran track, tried to play football, but I wasn't cut out for football. And I played a little baseball, and I thought I was gonna go to the pros to play basketball.
All right, you was good, huh?
Yeah, I was pretty good.
Okay.
And so, but I had a little trouble with coaches, especially coaches who kind of kick people. You know, coaches like to kick on people.
Oh yeah, you was a little too mean for them to be kicking around on
Yeah,
you.
you don't kick on me.
So God
now I played
you.
under John Pitts. Now, John Pitts was a good coach, and I made the team at Howard. Well, I first made the team in junior high school under John Franklin. The coach,
Franklin, City.
Yeah.
John Franklin.
Yeah, he was a coach. I was a little fella. I was about the smallest fella.
We didn't know y'all.
And so in junior high school, I went out for the team, and I can't think of the coach name at this time who was before him, but he was my chemistry teacher.
One Bowles was it?
No. Bowles was in my class.
Oh, he was one of your classmates.
Yeah. Okay. So this guy, he liked big fellas. So I'm a little bit fella. And he just told me to get out of the team. Wouldn't even let me go out.
That's over. Okay.
But next year, Mr. Franklin was the coach, and he let everybody come out. So I made the team.
Okay.
That's the first time I made a team in junior high school. And I used to, and so I was so little, I learned to shoot the two-hand shot, the long shot. I used to shoot the long shot. I was just too little in the basket, so I learned to shoot the long shot.
From this,
And that's how I got into basketball. And I played a lot of basketball, but when we got to Howard High School over Market Street, Chubby James was coaching. We couldn't get along too well.
What was wrong with Chubby James? What you mean you couldn't get along with him?
He kind of like to kick people.
Oh,
yeah.
Like
to put the foot on people.
Oh, you was good for real?
Yeah.
Oh, well, back in the day, I done had my head a few times.
And so he did that to me. He did that to me one day. And I looked at him, and I can't tell you on the air what I told him.
Okay.
But he put me out of the gym and told me not to come back anymore.
Oh my goodness.
But he did give me a C, though. He didn't flunk me. But I didn't go back to the gym, so I started playing industrial ball at the Henry Branch YMCA, which was on, I don't forget, but it was a color white, a black Y, whatever you call it, Negro Y. They call it little everything. We done been called little everything since in this country, but we was called Negro.
Okay.
And so I played industrial ball at the Y. And Mr. Days saw me. Mr. Days, he was at the Howard, and he looked at me and said, what you gonna do after graduate? I said, I don't know. I said, I guess I'll go to the military or something. So he said, I think I can get you a scholarship at Alabama A&M College.
Oh.
I said, well, I'll go if you can get it. Because I wasn't planning on going to college. I was just going to plan on going to the military. Because I wasn't going to work in the foundries.
Okay. One gonna work in the factory, one gonna put your feet on here. Okay. Yeah.
And but my experience with the foundry, I went down to see the Elenora, which was out south, and it had fire coming out of the side of the plant. Just you looked down to there and smoke was everywhere.
Oh, here in Alton Park area.
No, yeah.
In Alton Park. This was the industrial zone of America for most.
I went out there and saw that fire, and I walked in there. I'm gonna apply for a job. And so the lady said, "Can I help you?" I looked down through there and saw that fine, everybody looking like shadows. I said, yeah. I said, no, you the one need help. I said, y'all need to find a way to come out here and put that fire. Then I just left. I couldn't handle that.
You could have the fire.
I couldn't handle it.
You know that wasn't gonna be for you.
That wasn't for me.
Gonna be for you.
So Mr. James, so Mr. Dave did give me a scholarship to Alabama A&M. So I went down there with about $300 in my pocket. That's all we had.
And back then, that was pretty good money, $300 now.
And that's the money I had saved up. And so I got down to Alabama A&M, and I had the shock of my life.
What happened?
I was in Alabama. This is George Wallace territory. And here I am in Alabama. And then we had and it was just crazy. The culture was crazy.
Tell it. That's what this is. Black History Month, and we telling it, y'all. We're telling it. Just like
so we had a student body meeting, and everybody went to the gym, and they gonna tell us how to treat white people.
Now, was this a historical black college then? Alabama A&M. It was a historical black college. And who was telling y'all how to treat white folk?
The faculty.
The faculty. Who were black or were they white?
They were black.
They were black. Okay.
And so I'm sitting there listening to this crap, and so I just got up and walked out. I was the only fellow on the campus that walked out the meeting. But it wasn't about 8 of us from out of state down there at the time.
Okay.
And so I just went on back to my dormitory. I said, I don't need this crap. I was taught by my mother and dad how to treat people. You treat me right, I treat you right.
Okay.
That's what my mother and father taught me. So I just walked out of the meeting. I wasn't interested in how to treat white people. If you treat me right, I treat you right. Next thing I know, I'm be called before the disciplinary committee.
Oh,
so because I walked out the meeting.
Because you was being rebellious, and there's every sense of the word for them. Yeah, you were being rebellious.
I walked out of student meeting, and I couldn't understand why I was being called into the disciplinary committee. I wasn't doing anything to anybody. I don't mess with anybody. I just do my work and get my lesson. It's gone. And so they was telling me asked me why I walked out of the meeting. I told them, I said, I didn't come down here to be teach home training. I was taught home training at home. My parents taught me home training. I had a dad and a mother. Now, I found out later that was unusual for black parents, for even black boys had a father and a mother at home.
And this was in the 50s. Now we're in the 60s.
No, we're in 56.
56. It was unusual for black.
I just found that out later.
To have both mother and father at home.
We was an unusual family.
Okay.
Because we lived in the project. We moved in the projects on the west side.
So what did parents do then? Okay, you're making children. Are they just cohabitating as girlfriend, boyfriend?
I don't know all about it. You don't
know. Okay.
But I learned later from studying and reading about it that it was to me it was very hard to keep black families together. And especially for black men. And
we can go into that. That's a whole nother show. Why black men leave their family, children, mamas, and all.
Yeah. And you got a prison too.
And you got a prison.
You got a school to prison pipeline. So you got all those things working against you.
And then the hardship that men had getting jobs and maintaining a livable wage to support the mother of his children and the hardship that created.
Now I learned
the challenge of his manhood.
I learned something about my family, about my father from my oldest brother.
Okay.
My dad had talked to my oldest brother more than he talked to us. There's only 2 of us left now. Fred Holloway, who lives in Arizona, he's 93 years old. Mm-hmm. And I live here in Chattanooga. The rest of them are deceased.
Okay.
And so my father, he told me this just this year. I think late last year.
Your brother told you because your dad's deceased. Okay.
Yeah. And my dad used to talk to my oldest brother a lot. Mm-hmm. And so my dad was he was a bastard child. My dad was. And he said he wasn't going to have no bastard children.
So for those who don't know what a bastard child is a child that's born out of wedlock.
Yes.
Meaning mom and dad are not married.
Yes.
They were just conceived.
And so he told my oldest brother, he just shared this with me the other day, because, and so he said he wasn't going to have no bastard children. My father said that to my oldest brother.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was very adamant about that, even when he had to leave Chattanooga to go somewhere else to work because he couldn't work in Chattanooga. He sent money back home, and he came home on his vacation just to be with his family.
Okay.
And he was a real family man, because we had to wait on him to come from work.
He
to
was
eat.
married to your mama.
Yeah.
Okay,
He had we had a real tight family, and we always had to wait for him to come home to eat.
Mm-hmm.
We all sit down at the table together to eat. We didn't just eat.
Oh, go fix your plate, eat, and then go to your room.
We didn't have no television.
Okay, no television. No television.
And so we all sit around the table and eat.
And talk about
your
day.
We start to talk about the day. And stuff like
those
that.
were good days.
And so I got a little older, and I didn't really understand how important fathers were.
Mm-hmm.
Until I just started looking at a lot of my friends who didn't have fathers.
So what do you think about fathers? How important are fathers? And we're gonna stick to the theme of everything in Black families.
Yeah.
Because this is Black History Month.
That's all I know.
You know, why is it so important? And I mean, it's kind of an obvious answer, but why is it so important for Black fathers to be with their families raising their children?
Well,
and what happened?
Well, women just can't make men. Just be frank with you.
Right.
It takes a man to make another man.
I agree.
Women are very important to children.
Mm-hmm.
But at a certain age, you got to pass them off to a man.
You got to.
You just got to do it, because women just spoil boys.
We do. We ruin them. We do.
Spoil boys.
You talking too hard to him, and you whooping him too hard.
Yeah.
You know, that punishment's too hard. You know,
yeah.
Why are you talking to my baby like that? You're not gonna talk to my baby. They
hang on them too long.
Yeah.
And somehow you got to know when to pass them off.
Okay, I agree.
And that's where the man come in. At a certain age, the man just got to take over and say, "This is what a man is."
We got to start being so bossy with it. I think we get to be too bossy.
But you had to be.
Yes.
Because of the structure of the society we got.
Yes.
You had to be. You are saviors.
Okay, we're gonna let you talk about us being a savior, how it's ruined the Black family too.
It ruined the Black families, but you are our savior, and you are also the savior of America.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Black women.
Black women. Oh, I want to know about that.
That's a whole new another subject.
Oh no, we got to have you come back on, because we're gonna tell them in the end here in a minute. But as long as we have this connection, I believe, to our ancestors, to our forefathers, our elders, we can survive as a family.
Yes.
And it happens with every other race. Everybody is doing it but Black folk. And I think it's strategically done when you look at America and how America is constantly still doing it.
America, just to be perfectly frank, America's the most vicious country in the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the most violent country in the world. We're the only country that got bombs bursting in the air in our national anthem.
Yeah.
So that's another subject. That's another subject.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about that, but not now. We're gonna talk about that, but we're gonna go back to the history here. So now we done advanced up. We got to your family.
And I'm at Alabama A&M.
You're at Alabama A&M, and they trying you. And that's kind of like when the real Johnny D. Holloway was kind of born. It was born in high school, because you already challenged in the principal to bring trigonometry to high school, and you were persistent there, and the coaches trying to treat you in a demeaning way, and you rebelled against that, kicked off the team and everything else. And now you before the disciplinary board in college for walking out of a room where the Black administrators were teaching you all how to talk and treat white folks. Now, why do you think it was so important in their mind, or who told them to teach you all how to? And why did we have to treat white people a certain kind of way back then?
I don't.
Now, I know we in the 50s, we ain't got to the 60s. Martin Luther King hadn't really seen or told us about the on the other side of the mountain yet, but so we are in a culture now where there's so much animosity and strife with blacks and white.
Well,
a lot of
one
war
thing they
on.
told me at Alabama A&M is the NACP was illegal in Alabama.
The NAACP was illegal in Alabama,
and so they told us that if you have an NACP membership card, which I had one, they suggest don't show it to anybody. Keep it in your pocket.
Because if you had a card and
it was
you showed
illegal.
It to somebody it's illegal, what they gonna do to you?
Well, no telling. You know, you report it to the authorities and you're in trouble.
Oh, wow. Did y'all hear that?
So
you couldn't even be a member of the NAACP in the 1950s.
In 56, in 56, 57, 58, when I was at Alabama.
Or you were subject to being arrested and no telling what. Because we still didn't have all our rights.
So
oh wow, this is getting deep.
So I just kind of smiled at them and just kept my NACP membership card in my pocket. There's one thing I don't believe in breaking laws.
Okay, all right.
I believe you must understand the law, you must stretch the law, you must challenge the law, you must organize against the law, but you shouldn't really break the law because they will put your ass in jail.
Y'all heard that? As rebel as he is, and as much civil rights activism as he has participated in, he just said he does not believe in going against the law, but you must challenge the law. You must debate. You must challenge them and rise up if you have to.
Well, as we used to say, I was part of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee when I was in college. I know Stockley Carmichael. I met Papa Ricks, and we know each other by first name and everything. When Papa Ricks come home, he usually try to get in touch with me, and we talk a little bit.
This is his hometown, Papa Ricks.
Yeah, he lived right up the street from me.
Wow. Okay.
And so we did some things at Alabama A&M, and it was a real lesson. And I had a professor named Professor Blackwell. Never will forget him. He was a lawyer, and he was also the lawyer for Martin Luther King for the Southern region of the SCLC. Mm-hmm. And so he taught at Alabama A&M. And it's another experience I had down there. So they had a history book of Alabama. We supposed to be taking political science, so we had this book. We had to buy it. It was by law that you had to buy this book in Alabama.
Oh, wow. If you were a student, you had to have it.
If you were a student, you had to take the course, and you had to buy the book. That was the law. So he told us, Professor Blackwell said, when you buy this book, you bring the receipt to me. Oh, and wow. He said, if you bring me the receipt, I give you a C for having a receipt. But if you bring that book in my room, I'm going to flunk you, because it wasn't nothing but a propaganda tool for Alabama. Trying to teach you to love Alabama.
Like teach you how to treat white folks.
Well, yeah, that's basically what it turned out to be.
Yes.
And so he said, I will give you your text when you get here. So I was really curious about him, because he sounded like somebody I like, you know.
Okay, all right.
And so when we got to his room, he gave us a copy of the Constitution. He said, that's all we're going to study in here. So I have a pretty good knowledge of the Constitution of the United States of America.
Okay, all right.
That's how I function. And that taught me something. If you're going to function in society, you must know its laws.
Okay, I buy that. Did y'all hear that? If you all don't know the Constitution of these United States, that's one of the things that you should be teaching yourself and your children. Because you got to understand the law in order to understand what your rights are.
How to act how to act and how to stay out of jail.
I like that. How to stay out of jail.
And then and on the same level, when I went to the military, now the military is different than the civil society that you live in.
Civilization outside.
So they have something called the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
Okay.
That tells you how to act in the military. So I was the first, when I first went in the military, I bought me one of them books. So I know how to act, how to talk to officers. So you got to know how to talk to them. You can say anything to an officer if you know how to talk to them.
Y'all hear that? When you get pulled over on the side of the road.
No, I'm talking about a military officer.
Military, but just in general, you need to know how to talk to people by
Yeah.
the law.
Yeah,
I get that.
And so, and I had this over my bunk in the military just to get away from it, to tell this story. And along with a few other books I had a little library over my little bunk in the military. And every officer that came through and see us, to look at us as troops, every one of them stopped at my bunk. And when they saw that UCMJ, won't know who sleeps here.
So
every one of
them. Nobody was buying that book
but me.
But you.
I was the only one that had it. I was the only airman that had that book at his bunk. And every officer would always ask, who was that? Who was this officer? Who was this airman that sleeps here?
What do you think? Okay, now I'm gonna let you get back to that. Why do you feel, out of all the things that you have experienced, what made you, what spirit, where did it come from to be so, inquisitive about law, inquisitive about civilization, mankind, civil rights? What spurred you that way? Because you could have did a lot of things.
Well, basically, I was a student of history. I love history.
Love history.
And so some courses I excel in, and some I didn't. And history was one of those I excel in. History and math I excel in.
Okay.
And so I just loved history. And I always thought if you learn about people and you learn the history of people, you learn their culture, you can get along with them better.
That's true.
And so I had a fascination with that.
Wow.
As growing up. And I always was fascinated about the American Indian.
About the Indian?
Yes, I loved American Indian. I love his stuff.
We're gonna expose why that fascinated you here. So you're in college, you went before the disciplinary board. I'm gonna get back to that. What was the outcome on that situation? I want to know what was the result of that?
Well, the results were the first time I went.
Went before him again.
But it wasn't my fault though. I never figured it was my fault why Forbes just couldn't admit it, because that was philosophy in Alabama. If you were born in Alabama, lived in Alabama, that you wouldn't do anything to hurt Alabama. So if anybody's gonna hurt Alabama, it had to be an outsider. And I lived in Tennessee, and they thought Tennessee was up north in Alabama.
That was considered north.
Sure enough.
Alabama down there, Tennessee.
What you talking about?
It ain't necessarily beside Tennessee.
Let me tell you what I think the South is.
What's the South?
South is anything south of Canada.
Okay, well, all right. Well, you can explain it that way. So we all group together.
Yes.
In other words, we clump together.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
If you study your history, you find out that the northern states did just as much to hinder the Negro almost as the southern states did. If you study your history.
Okay.
So everything, as far as I'm concerned, everything south is south of the Canadian border.
South Canadian.
Now that's just me. Don't take what I do. Don't take what I say.
Well, I have to believe something because now you're a history scholar, so
so don't take what I say as gospel, but that's just the way I think.
Okay.
Yeah. When I see America, I see one America. I don't see no South America, no North America, no East America. I just see one America, and all of them look like the South to me.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And so that's the background, and I told you that Dr. Blackwell was a lawyer, and he taught me political science, and he had one of the most profound effects upon how I think than anybody I know except my father.
That's interesting.
Because not only did he teach me political science, but he took us out and just showed us what was happening in Alabama at night and in the daytime. He took us to Montgomery, and he took us down to the capital of Alabama when they was having them political meetings and how they talked about us and everything. Now, we didn't go to the meeting. We just sit outside the stadium and listen.
So you think that all of this experience, I'm going to say this experience as a young man, and you went on to the military, because I know that's part of your
oh yeah, that's real
your
part.
history, and some experiences in the military also. You're saying they stopped by your bunk and want to know who had this particular book because it was unusual for someone to even be interested in that.
Yeah, but
So
that was the law of the military.
that was the law of the military.
You got to understand the law. Everywhere I went, I tried to understand the law.
Yeah. So they wanted to know, who is this Negro here that's interested in the law of the military? He's different than everybody else because he's the only one with this book. So now you're in the military. Did you have any instances in the military that you could think of that triggered something in your mind to say, this ain't good?
Well, the first thing that happened to me is in basic training. I did not know how bad the American people physical fitness was. See, I was very fit because I was an athlete. I could do 100 push-ups. I could do sit-ups on one hand. I could do all that stuff. That's what I used. That's what my brothers and I used to do that all the time because we believed that if we were not better than you, we if in better shape than you, we could beat you in the end.
Okay,
that's my philosophy. That's my philosophy of coaching. I used to coach a basketball team too.
Yeah.
So I think you have to be in better shape than your adversary.
Okay, y'all heard that?
And if you can stay within 10 points of him in the last 5 minutes, you can beat him because you're in better shape. You can just run them down.
Food for thought, everybody. If you want to beat your adversaries, be in better shape. Not just physically, but mentally.
Yes.
All the way around. You carry that on over to a lot of things. So you're in good shape.
I'm in excellent shape.
Excellent shape. And you're in the military in basic training. And talk to us about the experiences there.
Well, I did not know the American male was in such bad shape. I looked at those fellas trying to do sit-ups and do push-ups and do jumping jacks and straddle hop. Just a whole bunch of us. And you could see them. They didn't have no coordination. Everybody should go to the military. I think that's what's wrong. That's one thing wrong with America. When they got this volunteer army, that messed up America. Everybody should go to America because one thing they teach you is discipline. They get you in shape. And they teach you how to be on a team.
Okay.
And we now don't have that at all. We don't know how to be a team anymore. We're not disciplined anymore.
So our military is falling apart too in your mind.
No, not the military. The young men and women don't go to the military.
They don't go. That's the problem.
The military people are just squared away.
They good.
They good. Because they get you in shape.
So it's all the humans out here still running around trying to figure out what you're gonna do. Not the ones who figured out what they're gonna do, but the ones that can't figure out what you're gonna do. Take a look at yourself. Are you in shape mentally, physically, and spiritually? And
see when our country had the draft, this country was in better shape than it is now. We went to the volunteer army. And now the volunteer army is 90% colored. They got colored people all over the world in the military now. See, and then poor people go to the army. See, all these people talking about going to war now. These are rich people talking about going to the war.
They ain't in the military.
They cheer not gonna go.
So it's black folks. It's interesting you say color folks. So it's black folk, color folk.
Well, look at the 3 that just got killed in Africa.
Yeah.
All black.
All black.
40% of the military right now is people of color.
Wow. Woo! Did y'all hear that? 40%.
And I don't think that's a sustainable thing to happen in America if you're going to have
It's not diverse enough.
It's not diverse enough with white people.
I believe in DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
It's not diverse enough with white people.
Better country.
Yes.
We're gonna have an extended show today, okay? Because we got to get it in. We're gonna have an extended show today because this is important. Because here we are in 2024 and we don't have it together. And all this rich wisdom, knowledge, and experience sitting here on my left, the life experiences that he went through and those who were born in that era of time like him has shaped them in such a way that not only we look up to you, but the things that we were able to accomplish is as a result of your hard work, ethics, and your character. And we're losing that because we haven't had to work for it.
Yeah.
That's what I see in this. We don't have an appreciation for what you went through.
And so that's very important for a nation. That's just the way I look at it now. It took me a long time to get to this institution that how important institutions are, because I usually just react based on the individual.
Right.
Johnny Holloway, you mistreat me, I mistreat you.
Okay, eye for eye over here on the left. So we're gonna advance past college because there's a whole lot of good stuff in there, and advance past your military days. Now you're out, and now you out here, or as the young folks will say, you wild and out. What in the world happened? Now we in the 50s and 60s, and things has gone haywire.
Well, in the meantime, I got married too.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You got married.
Yeah, I got married.
Some children.
No, I ain't had any children yet.
Oh, okay.
I was still in the military.
At some point in time, you did, yeah, but
at this point
in time, you had not had any kids, but you got married.
I came home from the military, and I walked, and I used to be on 9th Street. I used to hang out on 9th Street all the time. So I always
that was our place. 9th Street was.
I would always go. I was always go home. I would go on 9th Street before I went home. So I go down 9th Street. I see this grand big old building down there. I said, "What in the world is this?" It's a telephone company.
Okay.
On 9th Street. I said, "Oh my God!" I done learned what the institution is now because I've been in the military.
Mm-hmm.
I said, they built this on 9th Street? I said, that means 9th Street's going to change tremendously. And we got to do something about it because I don't want to see it change.
Okay.
So I know some of the owners down there that own the clubs and own the businesses down there. Mm-hmm. I started talking to them. I said, do y'all know y'all about to lose y'all business? They looked at me like I was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I said, they didn't build that telephone company down there for what you got down here. I said, y'all got to get organized. I said, I just talked to them one-on-one, just talked to them. And I said, you got to stop putting them pennies behind that fuse too, because they're going to start sending them inspectors down here.
Ooh.
And
so back then you could put a penny in there and your power would just keep on going.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
Remember those days.
Pennies in the fuse box. I remember that.
And so I said, y'all need to get together and get y'all a business organization and start getting ready because they can start upgrading your business because they're gonna take over 9th Street.
Because of that was it AT&T?
Yeah, that's right.
AT&T.
I looked at that. I said, man, they're getting ready. I said, they're getting ready. And then, and so you know the story from there.
Yeah, but no story from there.
Just like I said, they're going to take it. And then I had a job. When I got in the military, I had a job with the Corps of Engineers. Mm-hmm. You see, another crucial thing about the military, the reason I went to the military, I couldn't get a job when I left college because I was trying to get a job as an assistant to an engineer. I wanted to be an engineer, but I knew that I couldn't be. And I had a scholarship to get an architecture degree at, I think it was in Indiana, University of Indiana. And but because of my politics in college, they took my scholarship.
Oh wow. Wow.
And they also put me out. They didn't want to put me out of school, so they took my house away from me, thinking I'm gonna leave. Mm-hmm. And this is a crazy story, but there was a person named Holloway down in the village down below the college campus. I said, let me go down and see who this Holloway fellow is.
Your name, same name you got.
I said, this might be. I had to find a place to stay. I guess I'm gonna have to leave.
Right.
And they put me out of college because I helped organize the protest on campus and all that kind of stuff. And they took my housing away from me. And so I went down there and I said, my name is Johnny Holloway and your name is Holloway. I said, we might be some kin. He looked at me and said, are you Johnny Holloway's son? I said, yeah. He said, well, he's my second cousin.
Oh, wow. The found family.
That was Condris Holloway.
Okay.
Condris Holloway played at
Yes,
UTC.
yes.
That was Condris Holloway. And so I told him a little story about me they taking my housing away from me on campus because of my politics or whatever else you want to call it. And so I stayed there for 2 years.
Stay there with your kinfolk.
And his wife had just left him and he had 2 children. He said, well, you can help me raise these children. So I helped raise Condris Holloway for about 2 years.
Okay.
And I
Isn't that something?
Yeah. And so we would go up to, and also I had a scholarship. So, and my scholarship was connected to my playing basketball. So I had the key to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So I would take Condris Holloway up to the gym and just let him play. And we just played basketball together all day long on the weekends. And Condris Holloway is a good athlete in any field you can think of. He could play tennis. He could play basketball. Nobody's football. He could run track. He could do it all.
Okay.
He could have went professional almost in anything. He was good. His daddy was good too, but they, how that goes.
Yes.
His dad was just as good as his son was.
Okay.
And but that's how I met Condris Holloway.
Oh wow. Isn't that something?
Full
circle.
Full circle.
So now you're here in Chattanooga, you're married, and you get busy in Chattanooga.
Well, the way I was supposed to go to Seattle, Washington, though.
Okay. And then what happened with Seattle? You ended up
I came home on leave from the military. See, when John F. Kennedy was president, he had an executive order that said if you didn't have a Negro making $12,000 and you had a government contract, we're gonna reevaluate your government contract. Mm-hmm. And all those places that I had put applications in started looking for me.
Because they had turned you down.
Because they turned me down. And they were looking for me. And I got letters in the military talking about, can we re-interview you? And I would tell them, I said, if you can break this contract I got with Uncle Sam, I'll be right there.
Okay. Yes.
But then I was gonna make a career out of the military. I was thinking about trying to get in officer training school and all that. But that's another story about Vietnam. I'll tell you about that.
You went to Vietnam?
No, I didn't go to Vietnam.
Oh, okay, you out.
No, I'm not going. I was in there during that time, but it was volunteer. I wasn't gonna volunteer to go to Vietnam. No way.
Okay. All
no
right.
way.
You said that was such,
No, I wasn't about to go to Vietnam. That was a bad war to start with.
It was a bad one.
That was a bad. I don't like any wars, but that was a real bad war.
We shouldn't have been there. Everybody said we shouldn't have.
Yeah, that was unjust war. If it ever was unjust war, Vietnam was unjust war as far as I was concerned. And they tried to talk me into going because I was in the engineering field, and they wanted us to go there and be a helicopter pads. Mm-hmm. And you could only go if you volunteer. And I wasn't volunteering for nothing.
Okay.
And you couldn't talk me into it. Mm-hmm. But I came out of the military, and they was recruiting us, the industry people, since John F. Kennedy had written that executive order. They allowed the private industry people to come on bases and recruit Black people. That's who they were really looking for. They were looking for Black people to keep that contract.
So if everybody's talking about affirmative action,
that's what they were doing. They were looking for Black people because they wanted to keep that government contract.
They wanted to keep the contract.
And they didn't want to be evaluated.
It wasn't really about you so much as it was about the money. Everything is always about
the money. It's always about the money.
Always about the money.
And so I was interviewed a couple of times. I had a job with the Corps of Engineers in Seattle, Washington. That's where I was going when I came home. But everybody in the family was just so happy to say, well, why don't my mother, my wife, my brothers, and everybody was talking about, well, why don't you try? Well, I had tried to get a job in Chattanooga, and everybody wouldn't hire me. Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't tell me. I took the test, but they wouldn't tell me what passing was. They just say I didn't pass. I went to
Well,
all.
you was a little troublemaker. Now you got a little
Yeah,
history.
yeah. I had
So
a little.
maybe
And that did play into it. I have
you
to
had a
admit
little
that.
history.
I have to admit that.
But something happened and you ended up coming here.
Well, they talking about, well, why don't you try again? So I went down to TVA and I applied for TVA. And they looked at my military history and saw that I was supervisor over the drafting section in the military. And they said, well, we don't even have to give you a test. They hired me on the spot. They hired me on the spot.
Okay. We're going to take a break here because we got to come back and finish this. We're going to take about a few seconds, a few minutes break. And then we'll be right back. We'll see y'all in just a moment. Don't go nowhere. Don't touch that down.
Where's the back?